Today, we review Lawyer Up, Season 1 and 2 from Rock Manor Games. Objection! Let's go. Welcome to Jeux tous azimuts. My name is Gilles Duval. Today, we talk about Lawyer Up from Rock Manor Games, Season 1 and 2. These are two separate games, two different seasons. And the game is by Samuel W. Bailey and Mike Nade. Thank you for Rock Manor Games for these review copies. And let's get into it. If you have a friend that is a lawyer, this game is probably Monday morning the game. However, if you like trials, if you're interested in living a trial, now these games are really for you. Now let's take a look at what we get out of the box as far as components. Then we'll talk about how the game plays, and we'll conclude with my slight opinion. Alright, let's talk about components. The box itself comes with a decent insert, okay? Things will shake up a little bit, but not that much. You got the room for your different trials on all the cards, other cards here, components on this side. And what do we have as far as components? We have, let's first talk about the game manual. Not big, not long to read, doesn't need a table of content. Well done in general. Nothing fancy, but it does the job as examples. Good to go once you have read this. What else do we got? We've got cards for the prosecution and the defense, because that's what you're playing, either side. You have your deck for, on the red side, that's the prosecution. You got your deck, you got 3 objection tokens, 1 sidebar, 1 counter for your influence. It's pre-built. You don't have to punch any boards and build it. You have your reference card. At the center here, we have the evidence card that will divvy up later. For the defense, we have the same type of components. Your deck, your objections, and sidebar, your reference, your influence counter. Besides that, you also have strategies for the different trials. Strategies are actually the approach you take for the trial and how it's going to end, and a list of witnesses you're going to work with during the trial. What else do we have? Flavor text for the case itself, and on the side we can see we have witnesses and a judge. The judge, there are 9 judges. 6 of them are biased by one of the possible type of influence you have in the game, whether it's intellectual, it's evidence, or from the heart. You have 6 different categories for influence. So some of the judges can be swayed by one type, and you get 3 of these 9s that have no bias at all. So you pick one at random when you start. And the judge can be flipped for the defense or the prosecution throughout the game as you do sidebar, or as a card will tell you, you gain favor of the judge. And we finish by the witnesses, as I was saying, and a pile of future witnesses if we need them, because you could have a surprise witness because you might discredit one and it goes away, and so forth. Alright, so good components, nothing fancy, just good quality, as you could expect. How do you play? So you select to play prosecution or defense, and your goal is to gain as much influence as possible with the jurors. Each juror here is has a number on it from 1 through 6, 2 rows. The blue and the red is the level of influence you have on them. So for example, this juror number 3 here is slightly on the prosecution side. If I push it a little more by paying 3 of influence, I have it completely on my side. If I'm the defense and I want to gain back this juror, I'm going to have to pay 3 once, 3 a second time, and more if I want to really lock it in. Now, talking about locking, you have certain cards where you can have a variant in the game where you can lock a the juror and make it harder for the other side to sway back. Once it's locked, you can't do it through favor purchase like I was showing, but cards can help you do that. All right, so let's go back to the top again. And at the beginning, you have the cards for, let me show you how a card looks. So you have a number of points. That one's neutral. Point of influence, and these are the possible biases that are available. You have flavor text at the bottom, or close to the bottom, and there's one consequence for examining this witness. So each of these cards, you split them all between you and the other side. When you do the split, you pick 3, you select one for yourself, you give one to the other side, and there's one piece of evidence you're going to want to bury. Yes, I know. But it makes the game quite fun. And the buried evidence may not stay buried forever. There are cards that allows you to bring them back. Or something back. You might have to be able to pick one and maybe swing the consequence through the trial. So you split. Let's just make it very simple. You split it between both sides. You shuffle it with your deck. And then, based on the strategy that lists the different witnesses, you decide the prosecution begins, if I'm not mistaken, and call the first witness. They choose which witness they are going to take, one that is in their favor. Let's suppose I'm going to take this one. Now, why did I choose that one? Because if you look closely, well, I should hold it right, there's a 4 here, and there's a 4 on the other side. 4 means that's the value when you start. I'm going to play it up here. So when you start from, let's say, the prosecution, you gain 4 of influence. So you add your 3, 4, and then you play your cards. To play a card, it has to match one of the bias symbol that is there. So for example, here that one with the skull doesn't match. I can't play that one. That one will work. It has the scales. So let's imagine that I'm playing this card. Now, if it had the red value, I would be able to gain some points, but it's a blue. So let's try to find one that will fit and give me some points. That one. So instead of playing that one, you have 5 cards in your hand, at least 5, and I'm playing that one. So I'm getting 2, so now I'm at 6, and when examine, I gain the judge's favor. So now it was on defense, it becomes prosecution. If you want to at that time, you can role play the flavor text, and that's where it becomes really interesting, more like a role-playing game. So you role play the game, and you read the flavor text, and you do your consequence. Now, the defense will play on this side, doing the same thing, augmenting their influence, playing cards that matches symbol for symbol. There are cards that have, if I can find one, there it is. They have all the symbols. They're kind of wild cards. They allow you to play anything after that, because that's the missing link between a card with a symbol you have and a symbol another card. If you didn't had the right symbol to play it straight. But these are also procedures. Procedure is something you can set aside and apply on your next turn of playing a card, and apply its consequences on the game. It could be removing a piece of evidence, it could be swaying the juror or a juror or the judge or something like that. So at the end, Once you have placed enough cards and you're interested either by the victory conditions or there's nothing else you can play, there's no matching symbols, you pass. Once you pass, the other side can only play one more card on the interrogation, but they can do other actions, like they could do a sidebar and pick up a card, or they could play a procedure. But they'll play another card in the interrogation, and that's it. Once this is done, you amount the total of points you had for your influence, and whoever has the most wins that jury. When you win the jury, you take the jury on your side, discard the interrogation cards, all the evidence and the cards you've played, and the other team is next to call a witness. Meanwhile, the amount by which you won, let's say they had 4, I have 10, so that means I have 6 points of difference. These are points of influence that I can spend on my jurors. So let's say I have 6 points. 6 points could be swaying one juror with 6, or I could sway 3 for the same amount. Now that becomes a very interesting strategy. These are cheap to change, but those are more expensive. So if you have an early win, you might want to influence more jurors so that at least you have more, because at the end, whoever has the most influenced juror on your side wins. There are different ways to stop a trial. One of them could be having no more witnesses. We've interrogated all of them. Or other condition, depending on which case you're working with. The booklet gives you information about the different tracks. And some other trials will even have different accessories to complement the storyline. That's a investigation deck, for example. And that brings a lot of variability to the game. There's one thing I didn't discuss, it's the sidebar. I slightly mentioned it. When you do a sidebar, you gain the favors judge. I'm sorry, the other side gains the favors judge, and you can pick up a new card on your deck. An objection allows you to take the current card that was just dropped by the other side when you object, and just remove it simply. So, for example, if the other side, the prosecution, for example, if I was playing defense, is playing a 5-point card that could make the difference to win or lose that witness, and you haven't played an objection on that witness yet, because it's 1 pair witness, 3 total in the trial, you object, you take the card goes away, you then win the witness. That's good, because of it was the last card and something like that, and you just turn around your token, and that's it. So use it with selective choice at the right time, because the trial can take a while. Other things you might encounter, different trials and different rules, will be discrediting a witness or having a surprise witness. Just like in this, your favorite crime drama series. If you roleplay this and you object, just like I did earlier to show you, it becomes quite interesting. Now, you have multiple trials in each season. In season 1, you have an art forgery. That's the base case that you're seeing here. There's a murder trial. There's a Godfather, a mafia trial. And then, just to change the pace, there's a witch trial in the 1800s in Salem. In season 2, you have a private eye, detective noir, 1950s. You have a Casino Height, and you have a celebrity divorce, where we swap the jurors for assets. Now, it becomes who gets the house, who gets the kids, who gets the social media account, because these are people. So replayability and variety is not a question here. Both season comes with a lot. Season 2 come with an extra part called the solo mode. It's a robust solo mode that applies for each case, box season 2 and box season 1. In season 1, you have a solo game variant, but it's just rules. In season 2, it's an automa deck that you replace the other player, because this is a 1 or 2 player game. If you didn't get it by my description, I'm sorry if I didn't mention that. But for the solo, you replace the other side with the automa deck, and it becomes quite a challenging adversary. You flip the cards just like you would, or the other person would do. Games last about an hour, whether it's at 2 or solo. And anything else I didn't mention? Yeah, if you're a fan of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, the video game, and you want to role play this, you're gonna love it. Again, if you have a friend who is a lawyer, this is Monday morning the game, and you might like and enjoy it as well. So, what do I think of this game? Well, I think you have a pretty good idea that I like it. It's really fun. For just a little that you role play, this becomes quite interesting. The challenge of the puzzle of laying your cards in the right order is fun, and it is very unexpected, because at the twist of a turn, you can lose your witness at the last card just because the other side plays a card that has good influence or removes something that you had. So it's unexpected, which is good. The lore on each card is fun to read, although I might say if I wanted to find something to pick, some cards have repetitive text compared to others. You're going to see that same flavor text multiple times. It's okay. I mean, you just vary the tone in which you deliver it as you role play, and you're good. Robust solo. So if you want to play this alone, you're going to have a good challenge. I'm going to give this game an 8 out of 10. Now, if you're not familiar with how I rate the games, 8 is, for me, is very good. And it's what I call a favorite destination. I'm going to find an excuse to find this game out of my shelf and play. So, yeah, it's a good game. I would ask you to consider getting both seasons if you're really into this. Why? Because season 2 or season 2 alone comes with that robust solo mode. And extra in that season 2 box, you get a few extra procedures that you can apply in the cases from season 1. So that's it. Thanks for Rock Manor Games for these, and give it a look. I think it's very interesting. You're gonna have fun playing prosecution or defense. Thank you very much for being here. We at Jeux tous Azimuts, gaming in all directions, explore a wide variety of games, and maybe one of them, like this one, might interest you. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.